Hi, I'm Jen Ristine, and this is my third video in my series of how my family converted from non-whole food plant-based eating to whole food plant-based eating basically overnight. So this video is going to cover sauces and spreads. Once you have those bases down, you can always, for any meal, do a bowl or a plate of beans, rice, veg, but it really helps to have some good sauces to put on top or spreads, right? I highly recommend Forks Over Knives. They have recipes for mayonnaises, for ketchup, for ranch dressing, all that stuff, and they're phenomenal. So I highly recommend you check them out to get their specific sauce recipes. I'm going to give you 3 sauces that we use all the time. So my first, an Asian sauce, and then I'll give you the almond lime dressing that we use. The almond lime dressing is a Forks Over Knives dressing, and it is just fantastic. The way I come up with sauces is I look on Pinterest for food that looks good, food that I want. I was recently interested in some sort of, I wanted a different flavor, and we found like a teriyaki cauliflower or something. And so I stole that sauce, so now I use the teriyaki sauce, and I do make the teriyaki cauliflower. I prepare it a little differently than the person who created it, but I have that sauce. So now I keep that sauce in a little jar in the fridge, and so when we're, making lunches and things, there's always a jar of teriyaki sauce in there, and you can just pour it over whatever veg, bean, and grain you're eating, and it's really good. So I recommend that you go out and kind of find some spice combinations that you enjoy, and create some sauces and keep them in little like jelly jars in the fridge. And again, we label everything with masking tape and Sharpies. So that system works for us. I recommend it. I will also mention that a lot of the creamier sauces when you do whole food plant-based eating are made with silken tofu. So my family hasn't fallen in love with silken tofu. So we are not doing much of that. Plus it doesn't keep, like remember when you used to get a jar of mayonnaise and it would last for, I don't know, a year? Silken tofu does not last very long. And we just haven't quite acquired a taste for it yet. So I'm like figuring out substitutes for mayonnaise. I want to share with you my Asia sauce. I made this again. It was like a stir fry recipe we found, and I made the sauce, and my husband was like, I love this sauce. And I said, awesome. So now I make it and I put it in like a squeezy bottle jar in the fridge, and it's a staple. He needs it every single week. So I make it every single week. It is 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, 2 tablespoons of lime juice, 2 garlic cloves pressed, and 1 teaspoon of grated ginger. That's it. Put it in a container, shake it up, stick it in the fridge. It's fantastic. Another one that we love, that I love, this is my favorite one. This is Forks Over Knives, and it's their almond lime dressing. It's 3 tablespoons of almond butter, 2 tablespoons of lime juice, 1.5 teaspoons of soy sauce. We always use low sodium soy sauce. 2 cloves of garlic, crushed or minced, and a teaspoon of grated ginger. And then you can add either a 1/4 cup of water, or sometimes I will do a 1/4 cup of just veg stock. And sometimes I do a little more than a 1/4 cup. So in our family, we are concerned about fat intake, and we try to keep fat at about 10%. So almond lime dressing, because it's got 3 tablespoons of almond butter in it, is a high fat dressing for us. So the way for me to modify it a little bit so I get nice flavor, but less fat, is to, of course, dilute it, right? So a tablespoon has less almond butter in it. And this recipe I just, mix with a whisk in a bowl. You can use a mixer or whatever you want, but it mixes up just fine with a whisk. My other sauce that I'll give you is my spaghetti sauce. And this is a great base sauce for anything. You can modify it as you like. But I use 2 onions, and I think a variety of onions are better than plain just one type of onion. Not that I can taste any difference between them, but I like a variety. So I always use like the two sweet onions and a red onion. A handful of garlic. We love garlic. In my opinion, you can never have too much onion or garlic in your food. So I use like, I don't know, 10 cloves of garlic, if not more. So 3 onions, to about 10 cloves of garlic, 2 carrots, 2 teaspoons of basil. So I mix all that up. A tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, tablespoons of maple syrup, about 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, a can of tomato sauce, and a can of diced tomatoes. And then I put a teaspoon of salt in that, let that get good and bubbly, let it sit, take my stick mixer and mix it up. And that's it. So we love that sauce. So that's a good sauce, of course, on whole grain pasta. We also use it over a gnocchi. And Mark will put it over, you know, like spaghetti squash too. We always make spaghetti squash, so he'll have my spaghetti sauce over spaghetti squash, or even just over grains and greens. Like, it's a really nice sauce if you like tomato sauce. Those are some sauces that I recommend. And again, I recommend that you go out and look for food that you like and just swipe the sauce. Just like learn what flavors you really enjoy and make sure you have those available to you in the fridge, because it makes you feel better if you're eating something that's really good to you. We don't have much mayonnaise in the house usually. I mean, we don't have like whole food plant-based mayonnaise in the house. So we prefer spreads, right? So we'll use almond butter, we'll use peanut butter. I have tried the pesto, the Forks Over Knives pesto, which is basically silken tofu, and then they get the green, the kale or collard or spinach or basil, whatever green you're going to use, and pine nuts and lemon juice, and it's pretty good. I like it, but again, that silken tofu doesn't last very long, so I'm only now starting that. I did not use that in the beginning. We're doing like kind of hummus spreads, right? So hummus is super simple. It's basically just chickpeas, tahini, which is sesame butter essentially, lemon juice, garlic, cumin, right in the food processor. So we were thinking the other day, well, we need to reduce the fat in that. So then I tried a different bean with a little less of the tahini and the same spices, and it's really good. So what we're doing now is bean-based spreads, right? So you get a bean that's like mushy, right? So like these, I use these, I love these yellow eye beans. They're like black-eyed peas. So when you cook those, they get kind of mushy, and they're perfect for these bean spreads, right? So you basically get your beans and then you add whatever spices you want. So just today, actually, I had some vegetables rolled up in collards, and I needed a sauce or a spread. So the spread I made was some like half cup of black-eyed peas, 2 teaspoons of this Coleman's mustard. Someone gave us a sample last night, so we just put some mustard in it, and a teaspoon of balsamic vinegar, and mixed it up, and it was really good. It was really good. So that's the bean spread I use. So I would encourage you to play with that and experiment with that. Oh, actually, so the recipe for the bean spread I used today was 2 cups of these yellow eyes, or these like black-eyed pea kind of beans, and 2 teaspoons of this Coleman's mustard that a friend of ours gave us last night, and 1 teaspoon of maple syrup, a tablespoon of flax seeds ground up, and a tablespoon of nutritional yeast. So I mix all that up together, and you get this like great bean spread thing, you know, right? So I spread it over the collard leaf that I had blanched and rolled it up with some vegetables and ate it, and it was really good. So, and Mark will eat that he'll eat those bean spreads on rice cakes. That's a great snack. You can make your own bread, of course, if you would like, but that I certainly didn't do that out of the gate. So we use Dave's Killer bread. We use the 21 grain bread. We usually keep that in our freezer. And the bean spread is nice on that. I just finally made a good bean burger the other night, and we used the Dave's 21 grain English muffins as the bun, and used the bean spread for that because we like some sort of spread with the burger. So they're very good. And so you can use like any kind of bean you want, and you can spice it any kind of way you want. I really like the mustard vinegar combination with food, with these sauces, so that is pretty nice. I think fresh ginger and lime juice or lemon juice is also pretty nice, so maybe give those a try. And that's it. Thanks for listening, and I hope that this is helpful. If you have any questions, just please let us know. Thanks. Bye.